Hi everyone, and welcome back. We are still looking at enhancement tools and have moved on to our second tool, the spot healing brush on the toolbar. Under this tool, there is a second tool called the healing brush, but we'll get to that another time. Right now, we're looking at spot healing brush. So spot healing brush is basically used to quickly remove blemishes and other imperfections from photos. So when I'm on this, basically I can adjust my brush size. It should be zoomed in, so Alt and mouse wheel. Adjusting brush size, by the way, is square brackets on your keyboard. In this case, I want to have a small brush tip and zoom myself way in here. And the idea is to quickly touch or click once to remove an imperfection or a small discoloration of the skin, or I can hold my mouse wheel down and drag it across an area of the skin to smooth it out. So it's one or the other usually. I usually prefer to click, but again, we're doing a wrinkle here, a wrinkle line, and I'm dragging it along the wrinkle line and actually removing the wrinkle line. So you get sort of the gist of it just like that. There's a lot more nuance and careful use of the tool, though. It's not a fast, quick thing. It's when you really get in this close and you're doing editing, you want to make sure that you're accurate. You want to be zooming in and out all the time so that you're not getting discoloration like I've caused here. But you do get the idea that we want to click on an imperfection or drag across an imperfection. Okay, that's the spot healing brush. Some of the alternatives down here. Proximity match uses the pixels around the edge of the selection. So if I'm selecting, say this, it'll take the pixels around the edge of my circle and put it inside the circle. And that's how that tool works, the spot healing brush, in terms of proximity match. And the other option down here is a create texture option. It uses all the pixels in a selection to create a texture for filling the area. So all the pixels in the selection to create a texture for filling the area. So it's reading what's inside my brush diameter and filling the area with what's inside it. So again, it's sort of another way to smooth it out, and then you can go back to proximity match and smooth that out to get a nice smooth look. So multiple steps involved. The third option here, though, and again, I should say over here we have brush sizes and softness of brush, so we can get a better, more sort of smoother effect right off the bat by using a softer brush. And lastly, our brush size, which you can do, I said, square bracket on your keyboard, or you can do manually there. Okay, manually on the options menu, I should say. The other third option is the content aware option. This is a cool new feature of Photoshop. So I'm going to use this image for this. The idea here is you want to use one of your selection tools we've already talked about to select something you don't want in the picture. In this case, I don't really want this dog here. So I'm going to circle the dog, and I'm deliberately giving it extra room around the dog, because what Photoshop does is reads what's around the edge of this dog in all regards, and the shadow that I've selected too, and will fill that space literally with the area around it. So right here, the foam, the sea foam around the dog's head and torso will actually be filled with sea foam. This area here around his legs, it's kind of grayish where the water's lapped up, that will fill gray. Down here, the shadow will fill with white. And once I've made my selection and closed the loop, and I'm already on, as you know, I'm already on content aware. I'm going to come up here to edit, and I'm just going to fill my selection that I've made. I'm going to use content aware. If it's not selected, select it. Okay, just normal is fine, opacity is fine. I'm going to move this out to the side so you can see what happens. When I hit OK, the dog is gone. When I hit escape on my keyboard, I now have no dog in the picture, but I do have some issues here. And just a quick fix for that, if you go over to your clone stamp tool, and you may not have used this yet, but we're going to just do a quick little touch up here. I'm going to make my brush size smaller. I'm going to hold Alt down on the gray and left click a sample. That's what the crosshair does. Lets me select a sample. Wherever that circle is where I'm selecting. And I'm just going to move it over and kind of fill in, as you can see, very, very subtly, low opacity, just fill in that area and get this kind of repaired, looking a little bit more realistic where that was done. Again, up here, I'm going to make my brush size a little smaller, square brackets on my keyboard, Alt and select, and I'm going to move that over. Down here, gray, move that over. Just kind of smoothing it out too. I can drag it if I want. I don't have to click everything, but I want to take that sample. And as you can see, when I do the sample, Alt click, left click, and I move it over, when I click again, just singularly without Alt selected, there's a second smaller crosshair. That's where the sample is coming from and putting it inside the circle. So be very careful and very aware where that's coming from. If I was down here on the whiter sand and I pulled it up and I clicked over here, I'd be clicking white sand into my gray, as you can see. So be very aware where that is. Generally, it's often many clicks, very high use of Alt click. You're doing it all the time to get a current sample close to that area. And when I zoom back out, I fixed up that a little bit. Come back in, again, take a sample, get a more refined edge. You can smooth that out here with your brush tip, make it sharper. Take a sample over here and kind of fill that in, make a harder edge to that seafoam. Zoom out. So again, just playing around. But that's generally it. Content aware will select what you don't want once you've made the selection, and fill it with the actual pixels around it. And you can remove anything from a photo this way very easily. Again, those are the two features of your spot healing brush. The three features: create texture, proximity match, and content aware.